What if the greatest monster you could ever face was not lurking in the shadows, but hiding deep inside your own head? Imagine a reality where every thought twists, every memory corrodes, and every familiar place bends into something unrecognizable. Tonight, you will witness the descent into the spiral of madness, a story so disturbing, so real, it will make you question your own grip on reality. Watch until the very end, because once you step inside this nightmare, there may be no way back. It all began on a night that felt like any other. Rain tapped against the window in steady patterns, a sound that usually lulled him to sleep. But this night, the rhythm seemed off. Too fast, too irregular, almost as though the drops were trying to form a message against the glass. He lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, convinced at first it was just the stress of another endless week. His heart raced faster than it should, his breathing shallow. The air in the room felt heavy, like the oxygen was thinning, even though every window was shut tight. That was the first time he felt the walls leaning closer, the faint creak of the wood, as though the house itself was alive, listening. When he finally drifted into sleep, it was not relief that came, but visions of staircases spiraling down into pitch-black corridors, each step echoing louder than the last, until he woke, drenched in sweat, unable to tell where the dream ended and his bedroom began. The following morning brought no comfort. His reflection in the bathroom mirror lingered a second too long, moving almost imperceptibly slower than he did, eyes slightly delayed as if studying him. He splashed cold water on his face, but the sensation burned instead of soothed, leaving his skin flushed and raw. At work, the voices of his colleagues became distorted, drawn out, and echoing like whispers in a vast, empty hall. He could not recall what they said, only the way their mouths twisted unnaturally, as if speaking in some coded language meant only for each other. Hours blurred together, and by the time he returned home, the silence of the apartment seemed louder than any crowded street. Every shadow stretched further than it should, corners bending unnaturally. He closed the curtains, but that only made it worse. He could swear he saw movement beneath the fabric, shapes pressed against the cloth, writhing as though something outside was desperate to get in. Sleep no longer offered escape. Each night he descended deeper into the spiral. The staircase returned, but now the walls were covered in writings, scratches, numbers, endless spirals carved in what looked like fingernail marks. He swore he recognized his own handwriting among them, although he had never been there before. At the bottom was always a door, and every time he approached it, he heard the same sound, a low, guttural hum vibrating through the ground, pulling him closer. He never opened the door, but the feeling that something on the other side was waiting grew stronger. He woke with his hands dirty, nails broken, small splinters of wood under his skin, as though he had been clawing at something all night. His apartment walls began to show faint spirals drawn in the paint, symbols he could not recall creating. Friends stopped calling, neighbors avoided him, yet he swore he heard their footsteps outside his door at night, circling, circling, circling. The whispers began quietly at first, hidden beneath the hum of the refrigerator or the groan of the pipes. But soon they took on a rhythm, repeating his name in a tone that was neither male nor female, but something in between, stretched and distorted. He pressed his hands over his ears, but the sound grew louder, reverberating from inside his skull. When he walked through the apartment, the walls seemed to breathe with him, expanding and contracting, their plaster veins pulsing faintly in the dim light. He stopped sleeping entirely. Every time he closed his eyes, he felt himself falling, not drifting into dreams, but plummeting into endless blackness, where the spiral staircase waited for him again, more decrepit with each visit. One night when he woke, he discovered dust on his feet, as though he had walked miles underground. The smell of soil clung to his clothes, though he had not left his bed. The lines between dream and waking had shattered completely. He turned to journals to document his descent, desperate to anchor himself. At first, the entries were coherent, descriptions of the whispers, the reflections, the spirals. But as days passed, the writing twisted into circles, endless loops across the pages, entire notebooks filled with the same phrase, "The door is waiting." His handwriting became unrecognizable, jagged, almost carved into the paper with such force that the tips of his pens snapped under pressure. He tried tearing the notebooks apart, burning them in the sink, but every morning new ones appeared stacked neatly on his table, filled with words he had no memory of writing. He locked his doors, but they would be open in the morning. He unplugged every electronic device, yet the hum continued, vibrating through his bones, stronger with each passing night. It was not just in his head anymore. The apartment itself seemed to be decaying, walls flaking, wood splintering, floors warping into strange curves that formed the shape of spirals. The night of the final descent arrived without warning. He woke to find the spiral carved deeply into his bedroom floor, glowing faintly as though lit from beneath. The hum shook the walls until picture frames fell and shattered. The air was thick, suffocating, forcing him to crawl toward the center of the spiral. His body moved against his will, muscles trembling as though pulled by invisible strings. The whispers rose into screams, dozens of voices calling his name, urging him forward. His reflection in the cracked mirror across the room was no longer his own, but a hollow-eyed version, smiling, mouthing words he could not hear. At the center of the spiral, a door emerged, not in the wall, but on the floor, its handle glistening as if wet. He tried to resist, but his hand reached for it anyway, shaking, sweat dripping down his arms. As the door creaked open, a light poured out, blinding and cold, carrying with it the sound of thousands of footsteps echoing from below. He screamed, but the sound was swallowed whole by the spiral as his body was pulled into the abyss. And that was the last anyone saw of him. His apartment remained locked, but when authorities finally entered, they found nothing inside except endless spirals carved into the walls, floors, and ceilings, each one leading to the same point, the center of the bedroom. His journals were scattered, every page repeating the same final words: "The spiral is open. If you made it this far, consider yourself warned. Some nightmares are not dreams, they are invitations. If you feel the hum, if you see the spirals, do not follow them, because once the spiral of madness takes you, there is no way back." If you enjoyed this terrifying descent into madness, make sure to subscribe, like, and share this story with someone who dares to watch it at night. And do not miss the other nightmares waiting for you in the videos that will appear on the screen right now.